Okay, folks, we are here for the 2026 budget presentations. First on the agenda here is the library. So Trina, your mic's on and ready to go. I'll go ahead and kick up your PowerPoint, and as soon as that's up, you can get rolling.
Okay, well, this is the 2026 budget presentation, very condensed, as I was asked to do. So I heard you loud and clear. You can advance. So I'm just going to talk about some goals that our library board and staff are still working on for 2025, what we're looking at for 2026, the budget proposal, and then questions. We'll keep it really short. So I just wanted to point out what we're still working on for the rest of 2025 and then definitely looking into 2026. I am working with the library board to adopt our 5-year strategic plan. We spent about a year writing this and it just wrapped in July. So at the July board meeting, the library board had their first look at it. And now they will have their second look at it next week in August. It's up to them if they choose to adopt it at that point. My goal is for them to adopt it this fall so it can go live literally on January 1st, 2026. Happy to share the strategic plan out with any of you. I feel really good about what we were able to come up with spending a year doing this. We're also working on executing 4 grant-funded projects right now. We are set to launch a new initiative called a library locker service coming up hopefully in September. And then our library is one of 5 in Wisconsin selected to receive a job pod this year. And this will open up the opportunity to provide much needed assistance to individuals seeking employment. The city of Viroqua does not have a job center. We have Workforce Connections, which takes people by appointment only. So this job pod is specifically designed and made to support those that are out in the field seeking employment. You can move it forward. So just for your reference, I just wanted to show you what library lockers look like as well as the job pod. On the library locker side, they sort of look like this. It gives you a pretty good representation. Ours are blue, not green. They are going to be located right outside of the entrance to the library on the Rock Avenue side, right on the WTC sidewalk. And basically what this does is enables patrons to access library materials when we are closed. So someone says, oh my gosh, I have to have this book for a research assignment and I cannot come in before you close on Saturday. We can say, no worries. We'll check the book out to you. We'll put it in locker number 1 and you can come anytime, day or night, to pick it up. Or if someone just says, I just have mobility issues trying to navigate my way through the entire library, no worries. Tell us what you need. We'll check it out. We'll put it in a locker for you, and you never even have to come in the building. So I think this is opening up more opportunities for people to access information when they just literally, for whatever reason, can't find a time to come into our building when we're open. So we just got the lockers. We practiced the locks yesterday during a staff meeting. And again, hopefully these will go out sometime in mid-September. No, they are manual locks. They are manual. And it looks just like that. We have 12 lockers. I picked 12 because the Onalaska Library has 15 lockers, and we are just a tad under them as far as how much business we get at our library. So 12 felt like the right amount. We're also thinking of just starting with 4 lockers at once to ease staff into this because it's a whole new thing now. I'm offering this service. And then the job pod on the right, ours is going to look a little bit different. Ours will be larger. This particular job pod is not ADA accessible and is only provides service for 1. Ours will be ADA accessible and have access for 2 people. We did not seek this out. It's a very long word. The Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, Western Wisconsin Board of Directors had the opportunity to choose a location in the 7 counties that they serve where they wanted a job pod, and they picked our library. And so when I got the call, I didn't know what a job pod was, and I was very, very shocked. There's 6 of them in the state of Wisconsin right now, and this year there'll be 5 more. So 11 in the entire state, and 1 will be here in Viroqua. So right now, working on the layout for this. You can move it on. So the 2026 budget goal is pretty simple. The goal of the board and myself is to seek opportunities to provide better compensation for all staff. This has been the same goal for approximately 4 years. It has not wavered. And before I started working on the budget, I met with the library board's finance committee, and that was their first direction was let's just focus on compensation. So I've done some research. I have looked at pay scales for staff at the Sparta Free Library, Hatch Public Library in Mauston, and additional data provided by the Winding Rivers Library System. I chose Sparta and Mauston because they are the closest size communities to us and this kind of a similar size libraries to us. Their circulation is under what we do, but it's about the closest match I could find. So that's where I went. And you can advance. Starting on the positive side, this is revenue for 2026. If you've already seen this, I don't know if you want me to walk through it, but I certainly can. It's up to you.
Well, I think generally, the team has seen this, that your revenues are going up. I guess maybe just sharing as to like, why is library aid county going up? Just tell us what the driving factor is behind that. Because the year before it went down 7,000. Now it looks like it's gone back almost up to 2024 levels. Any reasoning to that? Just grab the one next to you.
There it goes. Now it went. Oh, now it comes on. All right. Sorry. Okay, so for the revenue, the top line, library aid county, that is what we are going to be reimbursed in 2026 by Vernon County. You can see the 2025 number and what the 2026 number is. Basically, this reflects the reimbursement for people coming into our building that live in Vernon County in either a municipality or a township without a library. So that charge is reflected back to the county. So our increase is just over $7,000 for 2026. 2020, or the one below it rather, the Cross County revenue going up $917. This is the library, or the counties rather, that touch Vernon County. So this is when people come in from Crawford County, from a township or municipality that does not have a library, and we are reimbursed. So Crawford County, Richland County, La Crosse County, Monroe County. The biggest two are Crawford and Richland for sure.
So the only reason I ask is it seems like there's an odd pattern of 122,000, then it drops by 129, then next year up by 122. It seems like every year it's going up and then down $7,000. Is there a rhyme or reason to that, or is that just an
It's all
anomaly?
based on circulation. There's
just-
it's just the way it is.
Oh, okay.
So that's a projection.
No, that's it. This is locked in.
So
These are not
they
projections.
base it on the previous year. So they identify what happened the previous year and then they give you the money for the next year. And so they're always a
So
year.
in
2024.
so in
It's based on 2024.
circulation was up. So in 24, they gave us more money. In 24, it was down. So in 25, they gave us more money. And in 25, it must be up again. So in 26,
1 year
they gave
behind
us-
though.
1 year behind.
Right. That's what I'm
So in
saying.
2020, the number we get for 2026 is based on what happened in 2024.
because 2025 is still going.
Sure, yeah.
So 2025 numbers will
little-
reflect
Yeah,
2027.
I thought the same thing, but
No, it's
that would make
okay.
sense.
It's
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
and it is just purely coincidental that there's just over the course of this upcoming year and the 4 years before it or the 3 years before it, it's just like, okay,
There's nothing we can do to control it.
okay.
Sure.
And then library fines and penalties. This is at 7,900, which is the same as 2025. This is a discussion that will need to be had at some point because it is in our strategic plan to start talking about going fine free. We are not at that point to discuss it because this will need conversation at a higher level than the library board. The big libraries have all gone. I mean, I'm thinking like New York, Chicago, and heading west. La Crosse Public Library. I mean, there's a lot of local ones as well. So we put it in the strategic plan to start talking about it, and that's where it lands. So total revenue coming in about almost an $8,000 increase over 2025. So, okay. Contracted services, these are all fixed rates. I have talked to every single one of these vendors, and this is fixed. I can't do anything about this. Everything is the same from 2025, except the very top one, which is called Print Printing. It's $249. And this is something that we at the library are very excited about. Right now, when people come into the building with their phone, tablet, laptop, or whatever and need to print, they can't print from their own device to our public printer. This is the way it is across the libraries in Winding Rivers. Until now, Print Printing has come along and we are now able, we're just rolling it out. We started trading on it actually yesterday, where patrons can come in with their phone and they can print from their phone directly to our printer. The best part about this is there's a paywall in front, so they can't just print 100 pages and then be like, oh, but I just want 2. They have to look and go, yup, I'm committed to 100 pages. This is how much it's going to cost. And they have to pay for that up front, either with a card or going to our front desk and paying with cash. We've had some real mishaps over the years where people have been able to print from not inside our building, but from cars and from apartments. And they played some pretty serious little shenanigans on us. And this way, that is coming to a screeching halt.
So does it cost to print one page?
Yep.
So every page printed comes
Yep.
as a fee.
Exactly. And so this way, if someone is printing 2 pages of black and white, they know that they have to pay 50 cents. And they have to pay that before we will release the print jobs.
So the revenue, where's the revenue for that?
It's
Would that offset this cost potentially, or will it show up in the
oh
budget,
gosh,
or-
yeah, no. I don't know what the revenue is because it just depends on how many people print.
Sure,
So-
sure. I just
oh,
wasn't- there was like an
absolutely, Justin.
estimation or
Oh, yeah.
Is it part of your fines and
It's
forfeitures?
part of the fines and fees number.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So-
I guess what I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, could very easily pay for itself.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
We get this a lot where people are running in and, oh, I have a job interview. I just need to print the resume. And then we say, well, you have to check out one of our computers, log in and print, or their airline tickets is another big one.
Hmm.
And now they can just have their phone, print, we're done. And I think it's going to ease some frustrations that people feel. Is there any questions on any of these? I can definitely go through them.
I know there was a small note in your budget, Trina, but maybe just like the World's Web is
Yeah.
a nice drop of almost 6% drop.
Yep.
After every year before then climbing, $700 or $400 or something like that. Is there a reason?
There is, and that's because one of the larger libraries that has never joined the system, and that's the
Oh.
Toma Public Library. So because Toma came on, it distributed the amount of money Worlds needs to collect for the service out, and ours dropped by $1,243. So that was why, and that was great. I could just talk about like Plunkett's Pest Control. We're reducing the number of times Sam the Bug Man comes out, and we're going to do it twice a year because we've had consistent no mice problems that Sam has detected. So instead of doing monthly, Sam's going to come twice a year. And the rest are really fixed. I mean, Tri-State Business Machines, fire protection, Permar, and so on and so forth. So
Why, and it's a small amount, but just like
Yeah.
curiosity, why did Tri-State go up? You know, since 23, it's up.
it's the,
tripled. Right, it was 500 and then it's 1,500 now.
we got a new machine in there at some point.
That's what I assumed.
Maybe,
Or
I
did
think it
we
was
get
probably,
more machines.
it was
in-
2024.
Sure.
Our printing is crazy at the library, copies as well as printing, and our staff, including me, we are really always say we are not a print shop. You're not going to get a deal here. You're going to just have a service. If you want better prices, there's a lovely shop across the street.
Mhm.
And so this is part of it, is just more copies, more maintenance, more toner, more everything. And that's where this is going. And this is working with, oh gosh, I can't think of the account rep at Tri-State, but yeah, library utilities, it didn't transfer so great. I didn't even touch these. We're doing really well in utilities this year. I think it's probably a terrible move, but I didn't know how to find the money, so I left it at the 2025 rates.
I mean, if you're doing okay this year.
We're doing fine. We're doing
Kind
fine.
of building yourself in room for next year's
Yeah.
inflation.
And of course, it's so goofy how, the market changes with utilities. So I wanted to focus on the staff wages briefly here and just showing the wage comparisons and why the library board and myself have been really on this for 4 years. So I just started with the library director position. The salary is currently at the minimum wage for a director in a municipality the size of Iroquois. And that is coming from the Winding Rivers Library System Board of Directors, who every year puts out a wage sheet to boards saying this is the minimum amount of money you should pay your director, and that does not include any benefits. So right now, that's where the library director sits, is at minimum wage. Looking at the other directors in the 2 comparable libraries, the library director at Viroqua is paid 15.4% less than the director in Mauston and 17.51% less than the director in Sparta. For the adult, youth, and adult programming outreach director, at Viroqua, the adult services director is paid 14.37% less than Mauston and over 20% less than in Sparta. Youth Services Director in both, I guess Mauston is 29% more and Sparta is 28% more. And then for the Programming and Outreach Director position, Mauston's is at 2.2% higher than Viroqua, Sparta 11.55%. And our circulation staff, we are actually in market range. When I do comparisons between Mauston and Sparta, those ranges are from 1338 per hour to 1979. So hours, I believe, are falling okay. It's the director positions that are all way underfunded compared to what Winding River says in Mauston and Sparta. You can.
Trina,
Yeah,
as part of that wage
yes.
sheet that they put out, what did you call it?
It's just like wage recommendations.
But you noted that Mauston and Sparta
Yes.
is often what you're looking at.
Yes.
That I'm assuming it was part of a larger spreadsheet of other municipalities that were on there.
I
as well?
never got the time. I only did Mauston, Sparta, and what Winding Rivers Library System put out.
Okay, so it was your own research. Okay, so the only thing I was curious is a lot of time when they send out those, like for administrators, they do a wage survey where they
Yeah.
survey all the administrators just to get a bead and help everybody know where they're at. And along with that information, along with the wages and the location is like, what's the population?
Correct.
What is the annual budget? What is how many years of service,
Mhm.
highest education and things like that? Was there any other detail that went with the information that would help us understand the full picture? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. I mean, I can tell you about the director in Mauston. I can tell you about the director in Sparta. This was just me reaching out to them as colleague to colleague and asking for their wages for the library director, the director's positions as noted, plus all the circulation staff. So those 2 directors provided me with that. Winding Rivers, and I'm not sure why, but their board only puts out recommendations for pay for library directors.
Sure.
And I don't know why they don't do the others. I'm not on their board, and so
I think to that point, maybe that's not what Nate's asking, but I guess I'm curious to see like that particular sheet that WRLS puts out. Does it just say what the minimum wage should be, or does it have? I mean, is there more information on that particular piece?
it shows the
literature?
municipality size and the certificate, because we have to be licensed by the state. So it shows the municipality, what licensing I need to have. And then it shows the minimum pay for a director, just the wage. And then it says underneath, I can pull it up. I guess I don't have I can't. I don't have.
No, that's fine. I guess I'm just curious if there's one number on there and it's happens to be the same thing that we pay our director, or is it Vroqua's minimum wage should be this, Boston's
No.
should be that,
It's
Sparta's
just
should be
general
that?
for library directors based on what size municipality they're working out of.
Yeah.
I can pull this up.
I'm just curious because I think, like the more information we have when we're looking at these things, I think that the more.
Yeah, part of what I had asked Trina ahead of time was some years ago, she submitted the total amount of funding that the city put towards the library and how that compares to like 10 other communities in
I
our
recall
area.
seeing.
And that was really helpful to understand how much per capita we're contributing to the library versus other communities. And so again, the more data, especially not just Sparta and Boston, that they're the two closest comparables, those are really good and we're not discounting them, but like just the more information to get a full picture about where the market's at, I think would be better for us.
I think part of it is I've lost 2 staff this month.
Mhm.
I've had 2 resignations now.
Oh, boy.
You didn't know about number 2. And so that's where my time has been.
Sure.
I have the sheet pulled up. It shows it's nothing. That's
Sure.
sorry, I don't have it.
So it's.
It's the municipality size and what licensing we each have to have. And that's the minimum wage, but that's on top of what the board also has narrative about sick time, vacation time, health insurance, etc. So I had shared with the city administrator that when I was at a Winding Rivers training about advocacy for library wages, I had no idea what was going to happen. Maybe I shared it with
Yeah,
you
I've
too,
heard- yeah,
Justin,
yep.
that I was
It's
singled
very well
out as
shared.
being paid minimum wage after being here 18 years. So that was shocking. And it didn't feel good at all. So anyway, I can dive deeper into it. I literally,
From my perspective, I think it's fine. I just was curious
Okay.
about that.
Yeah,
If we're
fair
gonna
enough.
when we use documents for reference, I always like to.
I can email it to
that-
you as well, Justin. It's
No.
no problem at all.
That makes much better sense. seeing
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I mean, I would still stand that document that you provided a few years ago
Yeah,
that shows
remember.
the contribution per municipality. The document I sent back to you, Trina, with your updated budget, I included that, what I call the
saw it.
library comps. It's
I saw it.
outdated because I think it's from like 23 now,
I think so, or 22.
22 or 23. Like having that again is helpful because
Sure.
it helps us understand globally, because again, the city team doesn't decide what you do to your budget. We just decide how much we can allocate.
Oh,
to your
absolutely.
budget. And that at the end of it is helps paint a really clear picture. Like, are we contributing comparable amounts of dollars to our budget per capita
Yeah.
as the 8 or 9 closest comparable communities? That would continue to be helpful just to help us know where we land in that.
I
And
sure
if we're
can.
severely low overall, that would be something that we should really consider. Not to
Absolutely.
say that this isn't all very important and
No,
helpful
I
as
hear
well.
you.
I'm just talking about additional information.
No, and I hear you. If I didn't have what I've been dealing with, I probably would have gotten there.
Yeah, no, I get it, Trina.
No, I know you do.
At least
yeah.
Three
Just-
times, 5 times in the last 2 weeks, I've made excuses about just not having enough time. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can forward Nate.
Oh, messed it up. Hold on.
No problem. So I submitted to all of you draft one of the budget, which was given back to me and told try a little harder. I had shared with Nate that what I did is I only looked at staff wages and started reducing the amounts. The amounts I presented in draft one was reflective of what's happening from Worrells, Mauston, and Sparta to try to get our numbers higher. So starting with myself, it looks a little awkward because 5% of this is paid, my salary is paid by the administrative budget for the PIO work that I do. And it's only the top 4 staff that have full-time hours. Director, adult services, youth services, adult programs, and outreach. Everybody else is falling down into more of a part-time area. The one thing I will note is the bottom 2 library clerks. I should say at a staff meeting, probably back in June, I asked the staff what I should focus on for the budget. What did they want to see? And everybody said, focus on staff. So I did. But the bottom 2 clerks came back to me and said, we do not want to raise for 2026. We just want our hours restored that were cut from us to make budget in 2025. So I've had several meetings with these 2 individuals telling them I'm really uncomfortable with not even considering a raise for them. And both said, we simply want our hours back. So where it says on library clerk, there's a 78 in parentheses, that is bringing back a portion of the hours cut for that position, which is 78. It's 1.5 hours per week. And then the next one below where it says 260, that is bringing back 260 hours for that particular person that it was cut. So I think that gives you a snapshot of the wages. If you have further questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, you can move on.
Trina,
Yes.
so just to clarify, your first submission had greater increases on this, right?
Yeah, it was just in salaries. I didn't. Oh, and then I guess it'd have been the hours in the 2 staff that have 0% wage increases.
And how do you know? I didn't look at this, and I probably should. How much did you cut from your first iteration to your second? In terms of dollar amount?
I can look. I have it on
No,
my.
don't worry about it. I didn't know
Okay.
if you knew off the top of your head.
It's pretty significant. I put myself, I'll just speak for the director position to start. That's the easiest for me. I put myself at the same dollar amount or salary that the Sparta and Mauston staff receive. And then for adult services as well as youth services, I did the exact same thing. Interesting enough, Sparta and Mauston, they're less than $1,000 apart between what their directors get paid and what their adult youth service directors get paid. So I was up at much higher than this, but it just didn't work. So I brought it down. If that helps.
So the first iteration had you right at where the other 2 were?
Correct. Correct. And because right now I'm 10,000 under what those 2 get paid. And so this I can't remember the percentage, maybe 5 or 6% still under them. Adult service and youth service, both of those positions in both Sparta and Mauston are over 50,000. And I feel really good about the library clerks, honestly. I mean, it can always be better, but I think we're in line. And then for the 2 that chose hours versus pay increases.
How close after the changes does it get? Because I know for the adult programs and outreach, that was they were significantly under where the other 2 contemporaries were. How close does that get them to the Sparta and Mauston? And if you said it while I was writing, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Adult programs and outreach, it's better. Why it's showing such a significant increase is because the person that just left, her pay was around $15.50 an hour. The person that's everybody in those director positions except myself have master's degrees. And when we went through the interview process for the adult program and outreach position, there was no way we were going to they were almost everybody that applied had master's degrees, and it was the salary. there was no way we were going to be able to hire who we were able to without that 26% increase. So really, the biggest ones that are the lowest are the top three. I feel better. I think adult programs and outreach could be higher, but I feel better because we've surpassed the $20 mark per hour, which is good. The youth services associate, while that individual does work at the circulation desk, just like all the clerks below, this person is also involved in programming, marketing. They run their own programs. So they have higher duties than just working at the desk. And then flat funded for our subs, our custodian, a 3% increase. So I'm good to move on whenever you want.
Yep.
And these are just the budget categories that I wanted to point out. I had shared with Nate about our technology fund. We had to eliminate that out of the 2025 budget to make the budget work. I've done the same for 2026, but it really doesn't sit well with me. And it feels awkward to the library board as well. What basically this means is if my computer or any technology dies in the library, we are now having to go to donations that people have given to the library to buy an essential piece of equipment to function. There's no way I can function at the library without my computer. And so there's no budget lines for technology. And I also look at, books, periodicals, audiovisual, and programming. That is the library's bread and butter. And all I could think about is if you think about gasoline or fuel line items that I'm positive Sarah, Chad, Kale, and Rick all have in their budgets, that is our fuel line items. Without those, we can't function. We don't have a car, so I don't have a fuel line. But none of those other departments can function without fuel, and we can't function without those items. And everything is continued to be flat funded, and it's really hard. We, not recently, and I've told Nate this, that Winding Rivers has said to me before, you are a large library and you are relying on these smaller libraries to fill your holds, which means the items patrons are requesting, because you don't have enough money to buy multiple copies of some of the biggest sellers that are out there. And I don't know where the money can come from. And so I just point that out, that is really our fuel. That is our fuel line, metaphorically.
When they say we're one of the biggest libraries, where does that, in what way are we big?
Circulation. So we have many people coming in. I just have one book in my head, The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's like sold gazillions of copies. It's just been crazy. And so Winding River says, we should probably be buying 4, 5, 6 copies of this book because you're relying on, just say, Norwalk Library giving their copy to you, Trina, to fill your patrons' holds, when you should do a better job of being a better neighbor and buying multiple copies so you can better support the other libraries in Winding Rivers. So what we've done after hearing that is, so out of that $29,000, we have $1,000 designated for what we call second copy purchases. So when we get those huge books like Kristen Hanna's The Women, we're able to buy 2 copies. It's better than 1. It's not perfect, but it is better. And so I feel that it has made some positive strides in being better neighbors to these really tiny libraries that just don't have the revenue as we do. And the rest of this is all flat funded. Training mileage, I had in one of the original draft budgets, and I don't think I sent it to you in draft 1, was 2 huge National Library conferences are in the Midwest next year, one in Chicago, one in Minneapolis. And I would love to send staff because it's an incredible opportunity. Lacey and I were fortunate to speak at both, and it's just unbelievable. And being it's in the Midwest, we wouldn't have to fly, but I just couldn't find it. So that's flat funded. You can fast forward. I'm done with this. Unless you have questions.
So just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, you brought up Whirls a couple different times, and I'm
Yep.
trying to figure out how to ask this question because it seems often they're making strong recommendations that we pay more, that there needs to be more spending and more spending and more spending. And I would assume that means to a degree we either need to get the county to pay a higher percentage of their,
Mhm.
what's it called, their
Their county
their
reimbursement.
county reimbursement
Yeah.
rate, because they're doing the minimum.
They do 70%, which is the state minimum. I'm very proud of the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors who have gone to 100%.
Right.
Monroe County is, I think, at 85% now. And I'm really proud of those county boards for listening.
Right. So the county is one source that could
Yes.
increase funding. The other one is the city.
Yes.
And after that, there's not a lot of other sources of revenues besides the fines and forfeitures, which you've talked about.
Fundraisers that we do, donations. Yeah.
So I'm wondering from WRLS, especially from the last data I've seen, which granted was in 2022, it showed that the municipal contribution was very much on par, if not greater than the average of our comparables
Mhm.
per capita,
Mhm.
right? And so have they made any comments or like what is their thought? I mean, certainly there's the desire for us to increase and the push for us to increase funding, but have they made any comments or acknowledged at least the city's ability to give greater than what is an above average allocation to the library?
My first thought is no. I believe this is just me. I can't quote the director of Winding Rivers, but just looking maybe holistically at the entire system and how much our library demands on all these other libraries to support our patron base because we don't have the revenue to do it ourselves. And that's part of the shared system where that's expected. We get Arcadia stuff and we send stuff to Arcadia. But Winding Rivers is saying you are asking so much from these other libraries to support you because you're so busy and you're just not there financially to be able to, again, contribute more copies to the system. We can buy 2, but maybe we can't buy 4. And so we're relying on Norwalk and all these other little libraries to say, okay, we bought this copy and here you go, Trina, to fulfill your patron's request. I know Winding Rivers was happy when we established the $1,000 second copy budget to show effort that we are doing that. So in reality, it takes us down to 28,000 for our books, and everything just keeps increasing. I mean, you all know that it doesn't have to be books; it's everything. So. And then this is just a wrap up total expenses from 2025. Our budget is $499 and a dollar. This would go to 517, 568. It reflects a 3.7% increase from this year to 2026. And Nate updated numbers today and sent me a new spreadsheet. And you can advance when you are comfortable. So just some budget notes to take away. Just to remind you that in 2024, we reduced the library operating hours by 208 per year. That was to make budget. This year, we are launching the library locker service to support those patrons that just can't make it in when we close because we close earlier now. And so that feels good that it's something that we can do to accommodate people that simply can't get to the building by the time the door locks. Last year, or I guess this year, 2025, we reduced the number of staff hours for staff by 547 hours. That impacted a total of 3 staff. 2026 proposal has a request to restore 338 of those hours. 1 staff person's hours that were cut in 2025 will remain the same for 2026. There's only 2 out of the 3 that are I'm proposing their hours be increased by 78 for one of them and full restoration for the other person. When I say full restoration, it equates to 20 hours per week. These are not full-time staff. These are very part-time people. Also this year, we eliminated the after-school program, and I stepped down from the Book Festival Board of Directors to be able to allocate more time into library operations specifically. Um, and those are the budget notes.
Thanks, Trina. For the
Yeah.
after-school program,
Yes.
the cost to the library was what?
So the cost was only for the youth services director's time involved.
Yep.
The other two people that were literally in it every day, that was all privately fundraised for.
Yep.
So,
Great.
um,
And I know some of these answers, but
Oh, it's
I'm just
okay.
asking for the
Oh, I
point
know.
of
oh, and
the-
the youth services director did not have the capacity to be in the daily program. They were the main contact between the school and the library and the parents and the library.
No, and the reason I'm asking the question just for the group is that I know that the after-school program was a big lift for the youth services director.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say their time, can you share approximately how much of their 40-hour plus work week was allocated toward the after-school program that has since been redirected other places?
You know, every day was different, of
Yeah.
course. I would say, I'm just guessing, maximum 2 hours a day.
About a quarter of their time was on the after-school program.
And again, it's ebbing and flowing. But yeah, it's yeah.
And remind me what they've been reallocated to do.
They are doing after school programming now coming up in September, not the after school program, but specific programs after school. So
Gotcha.
kids can come. We're launching a robotics club the first day of school. We're launching some other initiatives. So it's not like it used to be, but we have stuff so parents at least would have an option to send kids to the library after school. I mean, they always can, but now there's focused programming starting at 3:30.
Right. Is that
I think that's
last? Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Very cool. I don't have any more things for, let me ask all those questions. I think I'm covered. Mayor, do you have anything? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Trina. All right. I'm gonna pause the recording here real quick and then we'll switch over and let Sarah get set up. We have about a 15-minute break or 12-minute break here, so no rush. Okay, everybody, we're back. Next up on our budget presentation is Public Works, and Sarah is going to go ahead and take the screen when she is ready.
Okay. Well, I do not have a fancy presentation, but I will go through the budget. And focus on those areas that are changes really. I mean, for the most part, I changed a decent amount, but I didn't change a lot. So like as Trina mentioned, like it's a flat budget in terms of a lot of things are just as they were.
Sarah, you have to share your screen.
Oh, darn it. You can't see what I'm seeing until I share my screen. Okay, well, that would be helpful. Let's see. Is that better? See, this is why I didn't want to do both yesterday. It gets to be overwhelming. Okay. So, I guess I'll kind of pick up things as we walk through them as opposed to going through too much. Revenue is always pretty straightforward for us. We don't count on special assessments per se. And the only other revenue that I myself have to worry about are our state aids. I know that there was some mention of them going down, but I did see that in mid-July, the governor did put a new bill. I don't know if it was a new bill, but a promise forward that they're from 2026 to 20 and 27 budgets are continuing with the 3% increase that they had allotted for. I have not changed this. I don't suggest that we change it necessarily unless we really need to figure something out because it is based, so there's like the 3% increase, but it doesn't necessarily mean this number will increase by 3% because there's a formula and it goes back, I believe it's 5 years worth of how much we invest in our street. So they look at like our amount and then that has a formula. And so I always feel very nervous because, you know, if we don't do some construction in a certain year, it can be considered that we've done less and therefore could make our number go down, even though it's increasing by 3%. So, I mean, our trajectory has been good. If you look at it over the last 5-6 years, it's always gone up. But again, I try not to make a commitment on things I don't know about, and that is one of them. So
Yeah.
I guess I will note it that it is an area where we can gain some ground. And I do have some suggestions on where that would go back if we were there. But typically we find this out, I feel like in a month. Like it's usually like
Yeah,
right
I
at the
would-
last minute.
It's funny you're looking, well, it's not last minute. There are other things that are much more last minute, but it is the one we received from last year. The estimate is September 25th is when we received that. And then we don't get the final notice of what it is until December. So it's really odd how they do it, but they try to give you a ballpark to help you budget, but even that's not for another month. So,
Yeah. But obviously it's a huge contributor to the bottom line for our general fund street department. And then I guess this would be the other one, which is Nate's baby.
Yeah, so Justin, just for your understanding, the solid waste surcharge and the solid waste revenue that we receive in is always calculated, and the fee is created in such a way as to completely offset both the waste pickup, recycling pickup, landfill fees, and the admin costs that we have to pay to the utilities for doing the bill collection. And so I haven't changed that this year, mostly just because I haven't gotten around to it yet, but it's always a net zero anyway, so it's really, it doesn't really matter what it is because it doesn't move the budget at all one direction or in the other. It's just kind of always a net zero item between the expense, which you can see down below is set up to be maybe around the same amount, but I'll update that at some point to reflect the increase in the natural increase as our contract has with GFL.
So that's about all for revenue. It's pretty straightforward. So I guess the other one, we can start going into wages, and Nate has some information about why the wages category is different because it's the health insurance stipend is now in there.
Yeah, budget team. Yeah, the health insurance is now, the stipend is now showing up as a wage instead of a
Right.
benefit. So that's
Yep.
why generally most people's insurance numbers are going down and their wages are going up significantly, in part because of the wage rate increases, but a good chunk of it is due to.
I was just going
Keep
through
it
what
collected,
I-25 is.
And you explained that really well in our last
Yeah,
meeting.
but yeah, I think it's a budget team.
Yep.
What are you looking
Okay.
for, Sarah?
Well, I was just looking at, just going back through it to make sure that that was an accurate depiction of what was going on.
Yeah, so
okay.
you can see
Sorry,
there under
slow.
Public Works Health Insurance, which is like all of the street department, it's dropping significantly because of the
Right.
opt-outs. Yep.
So I guess since wages is a thing, and for me, my wages are all like draped through the entire budget. We try to put them into categories that are appropriate, but it's hard to know, right? So like, if you summed all of the wages categories, that is our total wage. However, we have like, I think it's 6 categories for different, like forestry or street maintenance or snow and ice. And I don't know how much snow we're going to get, so that seriously changes the ratios, but the overall number is always accounted for in here. And so wages obviously is very important, and it's a really tricky one. For a long time, I have been working with like gathering information from other communities. I didn't have a lot of time to put this one budget together because I was on vacation for the week it was due. But I know trends and what I've seen, and generally, you know, we are low pretty much across the board. So in an effort to, so I can certainly submit more information. I did get Carson to do, all the people that I went to before asked for updates so that we knew. I think the last time I got it updated was 2 years ago. But in order to try to do this quickly and look at it, I got Phil to send over what the county had. And so then I was trying to look at comparable wages, and they're a lot higher than we are. I mean, there's just no question about it. But what I gleaned from it was we're not going to touch it. I mean, I'd love to, but I can't. I don't feel like I can ask for a 25% increase for staff. Like that's a lot, right? What I also gleaned from it is that we've had a lot of conversations about like when we have increases for like cost of living, how is that fairly given to our staff? Like meaning a person who's making $20 an hour getting a 3% increase, and a person that's making $40 an hour and getting a 3% increase means that one person's getting, $6 and one, well, getting 12, right? But I will say that, and I've always felt like maybe there's a more equitable way of doing it. But what I can say that I have noticed, especially with the county numbers, is that it actually is kind of appropriate. Like the discrepancies that I'm seeing on our low end wages compared to the discrepancies that I'm seeing in the high end wages are kind of a percentage, right? So like some of the wages that we're looking at the county level, like we're within $5, right? On the high end, we're $10 and over discrepancy between the county and our wages, right? And so the ratio, the percentage idea of applying increases is actually probably not off. And I guess I look at that, like I think about our like our street superintendent, our utility superintendent, our clerk, and my wage. I mean, I know that we've looked for a long time and like, oh wow, Sarah makes a lot of money in comparison, but when you look at similar positions elsewhere, I have an engineering degree, I have $3 million worth of budget to take care of. There's still a huge gap. Like, Phil nicely put in a note about like, hey, this job's empty, you want it? And that job at a 15-year experience is more than $10 an hour than I'm making, more than I'm currently making. So I feel like it's appropriate to look at it as a percentage. So that's the approach I took. I also looked at the idea of like, so I struggled with this one a lot because I feel like part of the wage conversation is a citywide conversation and not a public works conversation. And so I didn't want to under ask for my people because I feel like there's a huge ask that could be justified, but I also didn't want to over ask because I don't necessarily feel like, well, public works should get so much more than everybody else, right? Like I was trying to be, so I feel like I'm putting out a suggestion, but I also think that it is appropriate for you to look at it, the number, and say, hey, well, the police department's only getting 5% and, fire's only getting 3. And, so to look at you and say we should give 10 is not appropriate because across the board, it doesn't make sense. So I really struggled with all of that. So I just want to put that out there. But what I looked at was looking at a 10% increase, which includes the 3% cost of living increase. So it's kind of more like a 7, but 10 across the board. Do with it what you will. I feel like it is very appropriate. Like I feel like if you look at our wages and where that puts us compared to wages that like the county, we're still significantly lower, right? So again, that's that whole like, where do you go with it? And going back to the other part, part of the reason also that I looked at a 10% across the board was that we have very strategically looked at like everybody's placement in terms of where they fall within each other. And so, and we've been really mindful about that. And meaning that like if you really to start to sway one person more than the other, there's just so many repercussions, and it just made sense to do it uniformly. And then again, like I said, if you looked at how the ranges went, like the discrepancies went, they did go up proportionally based on wage. So even though it seems haphazard, I really did think about like, is this the right way to approach it? And I think it makes it fair in comparison, because like I said, when we're on the bottom end, we're probably closer to $5 difference, whereas on the top end, we're $10+ difference, right? I also tried to figure out what if that made sense, like within an ask. So I did not expect to come out with, based on our state aid not going up number, not changing it, that we would try to absorb as much of it as we could within our budget. But I was also, my goal was not to absorb all of it in the
Mhm.
budget. So
Mhm.
like my original budget that went out, I think it was 20,000, which it ended up looking better after you changed the health numbers.
Mhm.
So that was even better in our favor, I think. I guess that was where I was aiming for it. I felt like it is our bottom line. You know, I assume the city increases their revenue year to year, and then just asking for some of that increase in revenue to support that. Again, I am more than happy to accept that, like, looking across the board, we have to just do things differently, and it's not fair if I'm asking more than others, because I haven't had a chance to ask my peers what they're doing. Like I saw Trina's, but I don't know what other departments are asking for their people.
Well, and I think you hit it on the head. You know, when I talked to Sarah, her struggles and challenges with trying to find the right number were warranted, because, but what I said was, give us what the market says for your people. Like, taking a look at Vernon County was the right thing to do and submit something. And I think you took a balanced approach to not going too little or too high, as you explained. And then it's the sort of the city, myself and the budget team's job to take everybody's ask and try to put them all in such a way that there's internal equity between them in terms of who's making what versus other departments, and trying to make sure that balances out right. So that really wasn't ever free. Like, we didn't put that on you guys. So that's going to be a next step.
Perfect. Okay, so I mean, as I mentioned, this like the health insurance and the wage categories just like roll throughout my budget. So that's why there's so gosh darn many line items. And a lot of them there's not adjustments for, or the adjustments were made by Nate, because it's like health insurance, social security, life insurance, Medicare, that kind of thing. I guess notable, again, I mentioned the wage increase. Engineering like kept flat, so that's my contract, like ability to get engineering services, or like or not engineering services, excuse me, my costs. This is me and my like other category costs, so to speak. So what supports me, some things like my cell phone or equipment that I need, that's where that comes from. I left that as is. GIS services, I always have to like check myself because your numbers are backwards. Some people think, but 400 would mean that I deducted the budget by 400. And so we moved to an Esri system, as it's cloud-based, and it's pretty set, the rates. They come to me annually, and departments have been paying more or less for their own. And then there's certain ones I just pay for, like, you know, I believe the Hopkins ones that they use, I end up getting out of this budget, but I don't necessarily have everybody, like these utilities doesn't come out of there, or I believe the fire department pays for theirs. Like, so there's a few that I have. The GIS license. I'll have to look back. There is a number I pay for, and then often people are paying for themselves in their own departments. But historically, we have not needed the 19. I feel like we can knock it down to 15. Garage other expenses went up, and that was 1,000. Sorry, I gotta look at my notes here. Oh, of course I have it in another. That didn't help me very much when I'm looking at my notes here. So I believe just overall, our garage other expenses had gone up year for year. And so like, this is the garage other expense. The sum was $1,000 increase, but there were other things that went down. Like, this is our, Mark's coveralls and all of our like shop gear that gets washed and comes back to us, right? So that's gone down. We were able to get a good deal these last couple of years. And so some of these things that we're using, my budget, I had some room, whereas in the other category, just overall, there was more expenses that didn't fit into those categories. So that would be the net increase there of that $1,000. This one is the fuel, and Nate had mentioned to me that he was really concerned about the number going down. So I put a note there is that could go back. So like if we had our transportation aid come in well, that might be a place to put it. But what ended up happening is we ended up buying that diesel storage tank. So we used to buy fuel from the Mobil, and we have bought significantly less. Cost month per month, right? And so we did that about mid-year last year. So I looked at the expenses for the last part of last year and the first part of this year. And it came in at hold on, I can pull up into my other sheets. It's been so handy having Carson around because he's been throwing things together for me left and right. Let's see if it's in this one. I had it in one of these categories, but long story short, I feel like we currently have enough to cover, and also a 10% wiggle room from last year. So we have about $4,000 additional even within that ask. Now, is that enough when it comes to fuel? I mean, that is still probably tight, but I think that it can be reasonable that, we have a 10% cushion. Sorry, I'm trying to find it so I can show you. Oh, here we go. So this is our total from all years combined. And so it is a little bit challenging to look at our fuel cost because it's not necessarily the same throughout the year, right? Like we spend a lot of fuel when we're plowing, but like our expenses for 2025 for the first half of the year, which does include actually a fair amount of the cold season, is like 11,000 for half a year, right? So again, I tried to look at it, but if you would have asked me this to look at that number prior to us getting that storage tank, I would say there's no way we could cut it like this. But this year, now that we have that storage tank, it really has saved us money. It was a smart purchase. So that is why I felt comfortable dropping that. Like I said, it always is nice to have more cushion. 20% would be better than 10% cushion. And so if there was some extra funding, that would be one of the first places I would look to put it. But I don't think it's completely off base. Our utilities have gone up. 1,400 was what I projected as the increase on our utilities for the garage.
That looks like a decrease.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, decrease. So utilities have been covering themselves. I was incorrect in saying that. So I do feel like there could be a decrease there. Wages also obviously went up. Machinery and equipment, I reduced again, just based on our usage of the category. So I know that Todd Kirking was really concerned about us dropping it last year because our equipment's old. And he's absolutely right that our equipment's old, but my replacement of that equipment hasn't been coming out of that category, right? So like I haven't budgeted operation for replacement of a dump truck or a skid steer. And so that's why I feel okay about it. If we ever had to look at that or the excess of that, I mean, we certainly want to look at being able to purchase that equipment on a continuous basis, but at least at this point, it's covering our machinery and equipment. So I feel like we can reduce in that category. This is somewhat confusing, which is our street maintenance material category. I can go to another screen for more details. So when I say it's confusing, it's because there's a lot of like ins and outs that have happened with it over the years. And so like, for example, last year we anticipated a carryover of $11,000. And so that was rolled into the budget. So that kind of skewed the numbers. The other thing is that I asked for money for Main Street last year and the previous 2 years, I believe. And the reason, so there's not that I don't think that we should continue to spend money on Main Street and repairing Main Street, but I would say we've put over $60,000 into Main Street, probably closer to 80 over the last 3 years, because we knew there were Main Street projects happening and we wanted to catch the contractor. So we've been paying the contractor who has been working over the last 3 years, has been repairing Main Street while they're out there, because it's just really expensive work and you really do need somebody who can handle it. Like it's 9 inches of concrete with rebar. It's not something I want to throw just any old contractor at. But we're not having any projects on Main Street this year. And so I think, and given the fact that we've put a good investment back in Main Street over the last 2 to 3 years, I think it's safe to not have money in that category. So that's why I just had nothing for Main Street. But then I did ask for more in resurfacing to try to, make sure we are hitting that $50,000 mark, and our cold mix costs have gone up. We've just gone through a lot more than we have previously, and it costs more. So that's why you see a $17,000 reduction in budget there, is because I haven't allocated money for Main Street. And we can do with it what we want. I mean, I certainly would never say no to fixing it more. But I feel like we've made some pretty good strides. One of the things that I looked at was we get money for our connecting highway limits, and we get about $70,000-ish a year because we take care of Highway 56 and Highway 14. And it's a mixture. So up to now, it's kind of all been put towards like plowing and that kind of thing, but they do expect us to invest in it, like the construction side of it, like make repairs and things like that. But like I said, I do feel like over the last couple of years, we've made some good, significant strides, and we don't have the opportunity to have a contractor in again. At least not one that's already here. Let's see where else. Street maintenance, I just overall have seen us put more in that category over last year. We're actually trending really well this year, but I feel like we've cut it, and we've been always trying to balance like where to put that money. Because remember, we pulled out the materials, the seal coating and things like that used to be in there. I do want to top it up. Asking for more money in the painting and signs. This one's a tricky one because we've had a lot of changes and a lot of signs that needed to be put up because we've changed like what's happened on Main Street and things like that. So that's caused an increase. I tried to talk to the guys, like this is a category that both Rick and I use, but I have to budget for. So I've been trying to get the guys, like anytime Rick asks you for a sign, like check with me first that we have the money in there, because they've kind of just been ordering it. And this year we probably ordered 25 signs, right? But we also have to think about like, we have more paint on Main Street, and that's not the stuff that we do, right? I really like the epoxy. I think it looks great. I've toyed with it for almost my entire time here, just not feeling like, can we really get 4 years out of epoxy? But it's holding up so well. And basically we're paying the same amount over the 4 years. It's just one time is like, we're paying more at that time when we're putting it out. But I think the longevity of it and just having it more year round, where we're not seeing like a seasonal, like it's just, we always kind of come out of summer or winter and it looks grubby, right? And it's like plowing it and driving on it, whereas these epoxies like just look better from the get-go. I think it just makes the city look better. But all that just has cost us more, right? More paint, we're going to that. And so I feel like we should at least increase it by $4,000.
Signs, before I forget to ask the
yeah.
question, it's not necessarily relevant. Does the county make your signs? Vernon County, didn't they used to have a sign shop kind of a thing?
We don't really get signs from them. We did get some local folks making signs, for some of the non-regulatory signs, but they don't use the same materials.
I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure. I could have swore Vernon County used to make signs, like actual,
Oh, sure. I could
signs,
certainly talk
but
to
maybe
them
they
about it
don't.
more.
And I was just, maybe somebody close did. I don't recall.
Yeah.
So
I will investigate that further. We use Decker Supply out in Madison, and they've been pretty good about like just getting us what we need and things like that. But I will certainly ask because it's always good to look at options. We in that painting, we also do work with the county about them painting some of it. And I kind of just use like this mash of us doing work, the county doing some long line stuff, and then getting like the companies that come in to do epoxy. And so I kind of put that all together. So I should certainly ask them. Curb and gutter, we just haven't spent a lot in this category. And I feel like we're keeping up with the cost. The idea of us doing more concrete work has really helped. We haven't done a lot of curb and gutter, but we are actually going to purchase some forms to do more. And I think the guys have liked doing more concrete. I think it's been a win and it's saved us money. This also like our general sidewalk replacement, with not having a sidewalk replacement program, we haven't taken our own expenses in replacing sidewalk as much. It is a good conversation for us to have because we're gonna start losing ground. We gained a lot of ground in a short amount of time, over those 5 years, but it's not gonna last forever since we haven't done anything. But I don't know that, I mean, it's not, we're never gonna get enough in this category to do the program. So it's bigger than this. I kept everything else like storm and waste collection as is. Waste collection just is such a small amount. And as Nate said, the contractual waste and recycling is in and out, so to speak. So this number is just whatever the other number is. All of this again is wages and like social security and things like that that are a part of what's already there. Weed control, we barely spent anything out of this anymore. We certainly need it because we need to keep doing what we're doing, but we've not come close to spending 1,600. 1,000 is definitely enough because it's not wages for weed control. It's like the equipment or spray or things that we use. And then keeping the same with forestry. So, I mean, it's looking better than what I had first presented. We're asking for 9,500 for all of what we have here. I just continue to try to look really carefully at every category. I think the street department historically has been expected to take surprises and hits. And so there's been a lot in there for a long time where it was like, well, this is like, what if something breaks down? And I certainly have to look at that, but I feel like what you guys as a budget team has been asking is to not necessarily have a cushion for surprises. And so I'm like slowly weeding it out as the years have come through where I feel comfortable that there's some consistency about where we're spending. I have a hard time doing trends over more than a couple years because we've moved things into different categories. So it's not always like this has consistently been the cost we've spent for the last 6 years. Like I've tried to predict that to a certain extent. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer questions, but that's where and why and how I got to my number.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got the message about trying to find money within your own budget to substantiate wage increases, and that is very much appreciated that you went through that exercise. When I was talking to one of the other department heads, I noted to them like, hey, this gives us a buffet of options to understand where, if we had to go after something, what are some legitimate options? Because otherwise we get to that 2 weeks down the road and it feels like a rush. So this is kind of just moving that ahead of the curve, but it definitely provides a lot of discussion. And as we get more numbers in from the state, we'll certainly be able to react to those. And like you said, if there's opportunity to refill some of the things like the fuel that you cut, that can be something that we look at. But I think you answered the majority of my questions on this. You went through each line pretty thoroughly, so I don't have a ton about, it seems like it was all logically done and very much looked at, you know, like, hey, if I had to cut, it was more of like, this is not something we need right now, but like sidewalks.
Yeah, I haven't cushioned it for cuts. Right. So like, you know, if you come back and say, hey, we need 10% more, like I'm gonna be really hard to come up with that. But I feel like it's my responsibility to look as carefully as I can. So
Yeah, when you remove benefits and wages out of the equation along with capital, I mean, there's, from what I can tell, the quick math off the top of my head is
do you want me to-
29, we'll call it $30,000 minus 10, so you cut $20,000+ from your equipment, maintenance, all those funds collectively, and that's a sizable chunk of money, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because I originally assumed that a 10% increase in wages was about $40,000. And so trying to get half of it at least.
Yeah, and then obviously the benefits came in after the fact, and so that's something to be considered as well, so, okay. Do you have any?
I don't have any questions. I just want to kind of echo what Nate said. I'm very great, so appreciative of how you went about this. And,
Yeah.
you know, to Nate's point, we had the conversation in the department head meeting about really looking at this ahead of time, and you did a tremendous job. So thank you for doing it, because I think we hear you
Yeah.
that you've done a good job of cutting and making things where as tight as they can be. And I think too, I really don't like budgets that pad for the unknown. I'd rather the department heads know that they're working with a group that's willing to say, hey, if the unexpected happens, come to us, we'll be reasonable and we'll work through it together, instead of padding things, which then ultimately takes away from something else. Right. So I appreciate your perspective on
We
that.
had that
too,
happen just this year with the truck.
Well, I thought about that. Yeah.
It's like,
You know, I
Right.
agree. We
Right.
were so appreciative of
Yeah.
that. That
When,
was
when I was with the
needed, right? Like,
when I was with the county, that was a huge trend. Like they would pad their budgets. I don't want to say it in a negative light, but like they'd have all these like, oh, this could happen, so I'm going to put some of this here and some of that there. And at the end of the day, you'd end up, you know, at the end of the budget cycle, you'd have departments turning back $1 million. And you're like, well, this would have been handy when we beat the heck out of the poor, you know, Parks Department for a
Right.
$10,000 cut because we were in a deficit. You know, so, but
Well,
you only can get department heads to feel comfortable about
It's
budgeting
hard,
that
yeah.
way when they trust that
Yeah.
if they do have a problem, you'll support them. So
well, and
it feels good.
my
to-
budgets are so big, like, and I look at Trina and Kale in particular, and it's like, for the small amount that I need as a cushion, it's like their budget, that would be huge additions to their budgets, right? And like, I try to understand that. I mean, for me, percentage wise, it's hard, but like how much it does elsewhere is really notable,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I always feel bad for Kale where he's like struggling with his
yeah.
$100 and it's like, oh gosh, like, yeah.
Right. And one of the things that, I mean, we have about 20 minutes here until Rick comes in. One of the things that we had been talking about the budget team that we have a meeting scheduled for is the conversation about property maintenance. And I think that's
Oh,
probably
sure.
one of the things to see, like, where does that go in the future? We've added a lot of new buildings, right? And not a lot, but one or two is a lot for the city.
Well,
Yeah.
square footage wise, we've added
Square-
tremendous square footage.
And so I think the question of balance of what everybody's doing and how that may affect, you know, like services. I know the mayor and I have both come and asked about like, hey, how often are we collecting compost? Is that the right balance? Can we reduce the amount of compost we're collecting to free up time for the guys to do other things that isn't collecting compost? And right, like, how will the citizens react to that? Probably not well. When you
Yeah.
take something away or reduce the number of services, not always in favor of it, but we're in the position here where we're talking about city wants versus city needs.
Mhm.
And that, to me, like, it's a pretty, you know, a pretty big one. So I don't know if you have any comments on that. I know we're a little bit ahead of the schedule, but
Yeah.
I don't know if, you know, you
Well, let me-
wanted to talk
Can I
about it a little
share
bit.
kind of my thought on that, just to know, so I want you to know where I'm coming from. I think the compost thing, like, we offer some things in our community that not very many communities at all offer. One of them being 24/7, 365 access to the compost site itself. So it's not that we have to pick it up because we control the gate.
Right.
We used to, which probably contributed to why we do what we do.
Mhm.
But now that we don't currently, which we certainly could at some point if it gets abused. to a
Right, yeah.
point, do we really need to be providing that service for everybody? And it's less about cutting funds in general and more about how can we reallocate those folks' time to where it serves the bigger community as a whole. That's kind of my mindset. So I don't want
Yeah.
when I hear that, it's important for people to know, like, I'm not suggesting we cut that so we can cut staff or we can
Right,
cut
yeah.
hours. It's being able to reallocate those hours and time to projects that will make a bigger impact holistically
Yeah.
for the community.
I certainly like the idea of not talking about cutting staff, and not only because just cutting staff sucks, but because our balance in the year like balances well with the brush and
Right.
compost. So it's like if we were to not do it, it wouldn't necessarily free anybody up. You know what I mean? For the rest, like it's a seasonal thing.
Right.
I guess the other part of that is, I will say, if you ask the ladies at the front office what they get some of the a large number of calls on, it's brush and compost. Like
For sure.
people, I think the citizens, the pickup of brush and compost is highly valued by the citizens.
Mhm.
That all said, I've talked a lot with the guys about like the routing, because they will go through the city every
Twice.
time,
Right. A week.
depending on how it goes.
Right,
It's
right.
not always that way. So it's about, if they see people are out in areas that they haven't put in, they'll certainly go back, right? And
Mhm.
so like sometimes it kind of fluctuates. I mean, I'm open to exploring the ideas of like less frequent, but more like directed, like meaning we do the west side of the city one week and the east side of the city the other week to help a little bit. I mean, I could see that, especially knowing how far behind Kale is on mowing. So I mean, that would be something I would think we would have some serious backlash from just cutting it entirely. Yeah, like the pickup.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I worry budget from a budget perspective, like if the garbage truck goes down,
Right.
like to the point of replacement,
It's not young.
I
and
don't
yeah.
see that being something that would be easily. I mean, you're talking $500,000 easy, probably 700,000 for a new
Right.
compactable garbage truck, and I don't necessarily know that that's something that we could do. So then,
Yeah.
what's the alternative if we decide to continue to do that?
Sure.
But I understand your point about, like, if we get rid of it, it doesn't free up all this time all
Right.
year, but it does free up time that people can do more summer projects.
Yeah.
Because the winter time they're not doing it, but they're busy with other wintertime
Right.
projects.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
having
we need
summertime,
that staff and expertise.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I guess one thing just about the truck, like I don't ever envision us, if that truck broke down, buying a new one,
sure,
because
right.
we're not really getting garbage. We're using it because we have it. I don't necessarily know that it's essential that we have like a compactor truck for that. I mean, it's helpful.
Mhm.
It's also one of the hardest things on the staff to ride on the back of that truck.
Mhm.
Physically. But so I would certainly be first looking for a used piece of equipment before. I mean, that thing's not been in good shape for many years. There's also other things that we've looked at, like when it breaks down, we'll start using that dump truck with the dump truck with the dump body. Like there may be ways of
Sure,
going
smaller
about
truck and
it. So there's that. We've talked about like a bigger like truck with like having like a flatbed style and like adapting. So I think there's some options. I do think that one of the biggest things I find with like people looking for the service is just like, for those who have trucks and like vehicles you know, they throw things in the back and they go out there, but like there's lots of people that have sedans and,
Mhm.
you know, and then it's like, what do they do with the brush? Do they put it in their trunk or their back seat? Or some people just are physically unable to do it, which I get, you know,
Yep.
they probably could get services to help them, but I think, you know, I think the biggest need are those people that aren't really set up very well to go to the brush site, you
Right.
know.
And those are all considerations that
Yeah.
I've had other people. This isn't, you know, I've had this conversation with other people too, and I've purposely had it with individuals in the community that I know heavily rely on it.
Sure.
Right. And some of them have said the same. They're like, well, I wouldn't really want to put it in the trunk of my car, but I could. But why should I? Because they'll come to my. But now there's probably seniors. It's not a very stable environment out there, right? It's uneven and it's
I worry about
It's
it a little bit. It's
difficult to traverse at
terrain.
times.
Yeah.
So I hear exactly what you're saying, but I just think like thinking about that now and trying to like tighten that up so we can make sure that, you know, the staff that we're paying to do that, you know, I sometimes think in any organization, you end up where you're paying, be like if I came here and Nate was out mowing the yard here, or you out here mowing the yard.
Right.
That's a tremendous waste of resources. There's way less expensive ways we can get the yard mowed,
Right.
and then we can get other things done with your time since you're not mowing the yard. And I feel that way about our streets guys, right?
Yeah.
Like they have more value than the cost we spend on them, or than the expense
Right.
of providing that service. So
Well, and
that's
we're
part
always
of
behind.
yeah.
And it is a challenging time of year for staffing
Yeah.
because we're so strict on our winter schedule with the guys. They want to take their vacation in the
Right.
summer. And so, like, for example, Tyrell was just telling me of a situation they had where they ran into something with the street light on the north end of town. And he was struggling to try to get there and get out when there wasn't enough people to do brush and compost,
Mhm.
right? Because like he was like, he was on the brush and compost truck and then needed to get pulled off and then it kind
Right.
of strands them.
Right.
And so, like part of reason why we have the summer student is to help with that.
Yeah.
But we still even are at a deficit at sometimes. So
That is, and I'm glad you brought up like the vacation side of things. That is something I don't know how. I wish I had a better way to convey what my thoughts are on this, and I know you've had these same thoughts. I think having something, and it could be a part-time budget regarding snowplow, and have some on-call snow plowing individuals to allow some folks to take
yeah, we can
vacations
already do.
in the winter, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I do hear that from, you know, that has been a frustration of like past employees and retired individuals. They're like, oh, the best thing that's happened since I retired is now I can go to Florida for a week in the winter, or I can go ice fishing in northern Minnesota because I don't have to watch the weather. And
Right.
I do think that is a fairly unfair burden we place on those individuals, but I don't know what the answer is. So I just want
Yeah.
think
I-
about that, and this might not be the budget to fix it, but I do think I'd
Yeah.
be very much in favor of putting something in line where they could get some time off in the winter.
Well, our retirees have been really helpful to cover. Like we've had things like people going on paternity leave
Sure.
or sicknesses, and so we've used people. Todd Kirking, for example, is one of them where we've been able to pull him in. It's been helpful. I think it would be helpful to do that. I will say that the tone of management around that idea has slackened a little bit. Like has kind of brought it back to, I think, a little bit more reasonable level. Like. I think historically it was a sense of pride and like very rigidness that there was just no vacation at all.
Sure.
And I think as time's gone on, I've seen like each street superintendent kind of been like a little bit more reasonable about it. And I would say I think we're at our height of reasoning. Like I think like Wade does a really good job about trying to be understanding about that and being like not overbearing about like, gosh, there could be a storm, you know, like looking at the weather and saying, okay, like it looks like it's pretty good and we can take care of it, you know? So I think the guys would appreciate it, but I also feel like maybe compared to history, we are doing better about that.
I would agree with that. I know, like, I go up to Minneapolis to the ice fishing show every year, and when Dustin first started, he was like, "Well, I can't commit if I can go or not because I don't know what the weather's going to be like." And
Yeah.
like last year, we told him it was happening. He's like, "Yeah, I'll go," and we're like,
Yeah, right.
"Good."
How did that happen? And they take turns. I mean, they can't always just go, but people
Right.
kind of
But it's a
prioritize
day
now
trip
more.
too, kind of a thing. So it was nice to see that he felt like
Good.
he could do that. Now, had we gotten 6 inches of snow the night before, he might have been like, "Ah, sorry, guys,
Yeah,
can't
right.
go."
There's always those, yeah.
But I just that's something I would like from my spot
Uh-huh.
to make sure that our staff feels like they're not placing this huge burden by taking a trip.
Yeah.
In a winter situation.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure they would appreciate more consideration for that, for sure.
Back to the compost question, if I could, I think it would be interesting to know from the ladies when they get the number of calls, what the context of the call is. Because a lot of times when I get calls about the brush and compost, it's a matter of like, I need information about when it's coming not like, why isn't it come by yet? And I'm waiting for it and you guys need to increase the number of hours. It seems to be almost like a lack of information in a way. At least all the ones I've received is like, I don't know when to
Sure.
expect it. Is it versus there needs to be more of it and I'm calling to advocate for more compost.
Oh, and that's not what I meant about it being more. I've just seen that like there's a
Oh.
lot of patrons.
Gotcha. People are asking.
And they're
about it.
asking about it because it's like it's one of the things that like we've talked about having a more strict schedule, but it largely depends on how much is out there. And so like sometimes brush and compost can be done in one day, no problem.
Right.
And then other days it's just like we can't even keep up. And it's hard to know when that is. I mean, obviously the spring rush, right? Like people
Right.
are cleaning up their yards. That's one's an obvious one. But then it's just, and long weekends, we know it's coming from a long weekend or before a long weekend. But sometimes it's weather.
Right.
Like, oh, it was a nice weekend and everybody was out cleaning up their yard. And so it's like, it's not always super predictable, which is why we don't necessarily have a set schedule on the website that says we will be at your house if your number is, or you're on the west side on a Friday. But again, like, I think we could still talk about that. But I guess my point was that there's
There's a lot of people.
more
so-
people using that service than I think people understand. Like it is a heavily used service.
I agree 100% with that. What complaints I get about it are that they won't take somebody's items because
Yeah.
their items don't comply with what they're not eligible.
Yeah.
There was one down by me that had cut a bunch of limbs off their trees and they were 12 feet long and they were laid in a pile on the side there. And I didn't look today if they're still there, but they've been there for like 4 weeks. And I was like, they're going to sit there until and what'll happen, and this is what really frustrates me sometimes, is they'll only drive by them so many times. Then finally they're like, you know what? To heck with it, I'm
Yeah.
going to stop and grab them. Because they know like they're just going to sit there. So they'll stop and they'll do it. And so then the person that violated the policies regarding it didn't learn anything. They're like, yeah, so all I got to do is leave them there for a month and I'll come and get them.
I should
I-
check with them because I think sometimes they actually bill them.
So, and may do it.
Yeah.
Like when Hudson worked there, he used to say that he's like, we drove past this for 3 weeks and finally like the truck
to
started
save
slowing
it.
down and we were all like, oh dang it, now we gotta like.
Yeah.
And usually it would come with like if they could make contact with the homeowner,
Sure.
like whoever was like the lead guy that day would go up and kind of give them a stern talking to, like, we're gonna take this, but we won't do it again, so make
Right.
sure you do it right. That's part of goes to why our staff is so valuable, right? Like they really do care, and they didn't want them sitting there forever and
Right.
ever. And maybe there was an extenuating circumstance. Maybe somebody's spouse fell and broke their hip, and
Right.
now they're stuck until somebody helps them. And if we're the ones to help them, that's wonderful. But
Yeah.
those are the complaints I get, is like people not wanting to follow the rules
Right.
and don't get picked up. But
Well, and it's a safety thing for the guys too. Like it's also, so one, it's like, oh crap, we can't use this equipment that we have with us today to get rid of it. We're gonna have to come back and put it in the big dump truck or whatever it is. But the also thing is like, that's the guys have not directly had an injury related to it, but it is certainly one of the ones I'm most concerned because it's a lifting, turning motion. And we've had bad backs, They haven't necessarily been told like, this is why, but I'm like, that kind of helps, right? You know, like, and so that's part of the weight limit and size thing is just making sure it's not
Yeah.
too much for them.
Yeah, well, and it's the same reason that the waste pickup people all moved to automated.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Right.
They, I mean, their insurance carriers are like, nope, like, stop doing that. And,
Right.
well, yeah, I mean, there's certainly that portion of it, but a lot of it was, from what they told me, was just the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
From that repetitive movement day in, day out, and especially for garbage, which is like, that's your everyday.
Mhm.
Right.
Where compost isn't the guy's
Right.
everyday.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we'll have more conversations. I think we have something scheduled either tomorrow or maybe next Monday to kind of talk through compost and mowing. You and me and
Oh,
Kale.
Kale,
once
when he
Kale
comes
gets back.
back,
Yeah,
I think
so
it's next week.
we'll talk through that a little bit more and have something for the budget team to discuss.
Yeah. I feel for Kale trying to fill that position. Maybe some of these savings can help.
Thank you so much for, again, I really do appreciate
Yeah.
your
Steve,
opinion on
anything
this
from
budget.
you? Welcome back, welcome to,
Oh, what a day.
where you come back from?
Ooh. It's pretty.
We ran into,
Well, hang on, are we
Let's-
good on the meeting?
We'll shut
Keep
this
going.
down and then we'll chat.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sarah. We'll go ahead and pause the recording and then we'll debrief with Steve on his adventure. Okay, back for our last budget presentation tonight, Rick Neefeld with the Police Department. Chief, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on screen so everybody can see it's your general GL overview, and wherever, that's the library, wherever you would like to start, I can sort of zoom in and we can go from there. Looks like, you know, your microphone's still juicing up there.
so, Mayor, you've been a part of these many times. I don't want to be redundant and waste anybody's time. Steve, you're on public safety, so if there's questions, just please ask them. But like parking, that is just a budgeted item. That's a very variable number. That just depends on how many violations that are out there. That is an income or an expense. The special police services, this is one that I don't know if you guys met with all of them about that question. You said A and B is one of the questions you had inquiring about police services. Those numbers are just your DMV. So again, it's very fluid. Right now, we're at $3,600 and we're already into August. So our expenses have not been what they used to. But again, that is mostly because of the rates, and we don't make what we used to either. So like the DMV, we are at $10 a title. The highest, I think it was in 2018, it was almost $20 a title. So DMV kind of sets those rates. Even though you heard me back in police, public safety, 2020 was our best year. We had the most people coming through there because we were like the only ones open during COVID. And we still didn't make the 17,000. So 2025, last year, the first time Nate and I lowered it, just because we're not getting those marks, just because we're not. More people are coming to our office, we're just not making the same.
Is there, and sorry, you may get to this, but I'll ask it as long as we're on that specific line item. Is there expense that the city incurs as a result of having to provide those services?
All the utilities, so the police department does not have any expense on it, but it is your PSN, so it's your credit card readers. And we just paid for the machines, or Cheryl paid for the machines, but the company, the PSN company, charges 3% for every credit card, so we don't spend, we don't have like major expenses, but if that machine would ever break, we would have to pay for $200.
New machine.
But we got ours through, sure.
Sure. And the software and the computer and that sort of thing is not, okay.
So just as an FYI, last year, I don't know if you looked at your last year, end of year budget, Rick, on that one, but it did end at $3,800, $3,900, which was $13,000 off of the budget. So that we were out of a $17,000 budget, we must have been at 17 last year because 2025 shows 12, but for some reason, oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. 2024. 2024, thanks you. We're in
That-
2025, we're going into 26. Here we
That's
go.
twice.
There you go. New fax machine. So, yeah, so in 2024, when it was at $17,000, the total out of that was 3,900. So do you have any idea what you want to budget for that then this year, given the fact, Rick, of what you just said?
Okay, we're at 36, we've been busier than heck. We're at what, 8th month? We did it at the end of the 7th month. We had 5 more to go. 3,600 divided by 7. 514, that would be August, September, October, November, December, times 5. Maybe 5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an expense, so it's not, but 5,000, I think would be fair.
Okay.
Again, that could be fluid, so all of a sudden something changes, the DMV gives us more leeway with, rates. Again, that's, like, $5,000 to lower that to 12,500.
Yeah, what's already interesting in that is just the activity in that there's just so much moving around within the year that we go in these big swings where sometimes it feels like we're just flush with cash and doing really good. And then we have to make a payment to the DMV, even looking at 2024 through the end of January at $11,000, right? In terms of what we had brought in. And then there was a payment made for the CRV fees of $17,000. Right. And it's like none of the numbers, as I'm able to track them, make any sense to me. Right. By the following month, we'll say February, we had brought in $17,000, but then 17,000 went right back out. So like we were actually $743 in the whole overall for the account. It's like, how do we have a revenue line where we're going into negatives in revenue throughout the year? And so that is one of the ones that is just always mystified. The next month our balance was $404, and then the next month we were in the negative of 2,000. So for a revenue line item, I don't know if we need to have like a full review of that particular line item. I know I would like a full review of that particular item to just, as an administrator, I have no grasp on that one, and it does concern me. Like that one is one of the ones that, along with maybe one over in the fire department, is just super volatile. And I think it should be a priority for us to wrap our arms around that one. And Rick and I have talked about this before. I think we kind of talked about finding time, right, is a challenge.
We're not, for you guys, we're not like losing money now.
Right.
Sure. But is it a value either?
You say it.
No, I'm saying, is it a value? I use it tremendously because it's 5 days a week. I wouldn't have to do that. I could go to the DMV on Tuesday or Thursday, but I usually have to wait in line there. I don't have to wait in line with you. But
I'd say most of our traffic is maybe,
sure, the nighttime stuff. Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Well, and I'm not proposing anything right now. I'm just asking the question is, when it gets down to where it only makes such a little amount of money, is it worth the hassle? And I know, just like we just talked about some things with Sarah that I think she services to the public that the public really appreciates. And I understand that, but like, are they is that the only other option other than the DMV?
Yeah.
What's the risk financially? What I don't like about it is when we budget 12,000 in revenue and we only bring in 5,000 actual dollars, that kind of upends the whole thing. So putting that number down to 5 to try to get it closer to realistic, I think is a step in the right direction. But we got to be careful not to have unrealistic revenue items, because that skews everything else.
Well, the same thing, inversely, the parking violations seem to be doing really well this year. We are at 30, not to switch a hard switch, we're at 3,800 right now. Or I'm sorry, we ended 2024 at 3,800, right? And so 2024 existed, and I think when I looked at this early in the year through July, your parking violations, you guys have really done a good job of being out there and trying to hold people accountable if they're not following the parking rules. And so is there an opportunity for that number to go up, right? Given trends, Rick?
Given trends and raising it, and then here's what we changed it, like our camper, the $48 parking spots. So that helped too, is updating our parking ordinance.
Yeah,
And that was with my CAPA. It was $5 and now it's 20. So that was about 2 years.
through June, sorry, let me give you the numbers here. Through, yeah, it's been a number of years. Through, this one just shows through June. You don't have, for whatever reason, the July numbers aren't here. It's $4,800 in parking revenue this year that you have. So I would venture a guess, Rick, that you're gonna probably hit at least 5,000.
51.
Yeah, mine might be outdated. Oh, I'm looking at it. Yeah, and mine's just through June. Yours must go through July.
So yeah, 51.
Yeah, so let's call it $5,200. I mean, is there, that one can conversely probably go up because of the reasons you mentioned. So, I think maybe doing 5,000 there, and what do you think, like 6 by the end of the year is probably we're at 5,200 right now. 6 is probably a very conservative. I don't know if these take.
Six is conservative, it'll be more if we have another.
Okay.
The five, like the mayor said, for these services. That is where it's been coming almost 2 years.
And again, I don't want to put numbers on your budget. If you're, I mean, if you think that's the right thing to do, then let's do it. And if you don't, by all means. Is your mic working or not? Okay, there you go.
You want me to make those?
I got.
Then under the, I guess everything with the wages and everything, the police admin wages is going to be, there's 2 officers now. If you remember, I had 2 lieutenants, so there's 3 of us, now there's 2 of us. And that was changed from 2025 will be changed to 2026, which it actually reflects. If we keep going down the auto, so line 17, police admin auto services. 2023, you see that it was $20,000. We had fuel in there as well at that time. And then just to help out with what was actually going to fuel, what was going to maintenance, we split it up in 2024. So we had $7,000 for repair in 24. We were $1,000 under that. Or sorry, we're $1,000 under it now, and we're in July. And then that's why I upped that just 2024. We were at 9,700. So we were $2,000 over on auto. And all those autos ones is we always go to Mark at the city garage for oil as long as he is not busy. He's usually busy and time consuming where we can't get into a lift. But that is just oil changes and then any major incidences. And last year it was just a few sets of tires. And then we had our Durango, or no, I can find it here. Starter went out on one of our vehicles. And then the air conditioning, which was like $1,087. So 2 unexpected things, or else we would have been really close to that $7,000 mark. Last year, we lowered it another $1,000, or I did. And that's where we are at 57, just $1,000 under right now. So that's the only thing is I put an earmark in there to talk to you guys about it. The $3,000, our vehicles are fairly new, they're very good. But it just makes me nervous that I don't ever want to be over budget in those unforeseen things with vehicles, whether it's, nails in the tires. So like we get nail in a tire, we can't just patch it because of the pursuit rating. We have to actually get new tires. Usually if the other tire is pretty good, we can get away with just getting one tire. But if we have to do the matching tires. So not one is half balled in front. So we'll get two tires if we just get a nail in the tire. So that's why I just earmarked $3,000 just because I'm already $1,000 and we have 5 months to go. So just a few oil changes will be fine, but if I have any unexpected ones, I'll be over on that 6,000. Any questions with auto? I mean, might totally off the mark. I'm more being cautious. If nothing goes wrong with them, we can easily hit that 6,000 mark. If something goes wrong, an air conditioning, freaking transmission or something where we have to kind of fix something, then we're gonna definitely be over on our budget.
How many squads you at right now?
7.
Okay, including Jeff's. So you figure about $1,000 per vehicle per year. It's not a huge sum of money. That seems like it's the minimum you'd want to set aside for maintenance. I don't know if we could.
Are any of your squads still under factory warranty?
There are probably 3 of them.
3 of them are under factory warranty. So that takes some
Takes
of
some of
that.
the
I mean,
bigger risk,
engine,
right.
transmission,
Right.
that kind of thing. However, tires, there's brakes, there's all those things. And
So if nothing else, is 3,000 is just very conservative. And then if we always had money, I mean, then you don't need it for anything. It can go to whatever department needs it. But if nothing else is, if we can even do $1,000 this year extra, so like kind of off of just Nate is $1,000 per vehicle. So I just raised that one. Fuel, again, with fuel, actually, you're the ones that you sent and Joy sent. I don't have fuel on the one that you sent. That's the only GL that wasn't sent, so I don't know if that's under a different thing, but I don't have fuel. Don't know where we're at right now. But again, fuel right now, fuel prices are going down, so we're probably actually okay. We were $5,000 under last year. That is part of it. We were kind of understaffed last year too, so we didn't have all the officers that were actually out and about. So we lowered it $3,000 last year, and we were at $15,900, so $16,000, $4,000. And that was at the 20, that's at the 20. So that's why, so we're at 4,000, we lowered it 3,000, gave us 1,000 cushion. So I did not change that at all. Just know that, I mean, if gas prices go back up to like $4 or something, then we're gonna be hitting again. We roughly spend $1,400 in fuel right now with whatever it is, 290 or $2.97 a gallon.
Yeah.
Is that a month?
That's a month.
Or
So I have the numbers through August, you're at 11.7. So you probably,
Through August,
I'm sorry,
through July.
through July, you're at 11.7.
So yeah, roughly 1,600 a month.
You're trending over, you're at about 68% expenditure, and through August is, 7/12 is 58, so you're about 10%.
So I didn't touch that one at all either. I have the guys, just so we're trying to do all the fuel efficiencies. So like the 2 K9 cars, instead of letting their vehicles run outside the nonstop or the 12-hour days, they have to come into the building, so the dogs don't have to be, air conditioning the whole time. So they come in the building when they're not using their squads. But I have no idea to do with fuel. I mean, it's probably just like Sarah. It's kind of dependent on the fuel prices, but we are trending just a tad high, but. Communication, any other questions? I don't want to keep moving on, but communication is, again, the big one, from 2025 is our IT budget. So we have, last year was 26,000 change. This year is, 36,250. And then, yep, under miscellaneous, our IT,
So yeah, you can see the entirety of that increase amount is coming from additional IT equipment. Rick, I did run the budget team through those numbers already.
okay.
But this is really what it comes down to for the police. I'll try to zoom in here.
Those are the laptops.
So Brent,
Says may not be.
No, all of our numbers, honestly, with those numbers, I just did it five of the, so 5 of the 7 have the terminals. So like mine and Jeff's car does not. So the only 5 of them do, 3 of them already, newly purchased, so there's only 2 of them that we're gonna possibly need. But either way, what he is referring to is the whole Windows 10 conversion, right? That's all I was told from Mike. So we don't need new computers, it's just working on getting everything converted, which has to be done in 2026.
yeah, so that's in there under the standard desktops. The whole MDTS thing is super. I have no other information. Mike hasn't said anything about to me. He has noted that there are a number of PCs in the city that are not upgradable to Windows 11, and that because Windows 10 is unsupported anymore, that the cybersecurity risk on it is just beyond what he's willing to tolerate. And I think for the police department and the CJIS requirements you guys have,
Those
It's-
3 of them.
the requirements even higher. So like those 5 standard desktops, again, those make sense. I think either Rick or I need to have further conversations with Mike about those MDTS, because I have no understanding as to why those need to be replaced, especially after you say that 3 out of 5 of them have recently been purchased, right? We just got 3 of them last year through that grant you guys got, right?
Yep.
And so I don't know if he's just misunderstanding what's going on, so.
I'm with Nate on that one, just for clarification, with just a side conversation with Mike, is I don't even know if I would have to do more than 1, not 3.
But everything else on there seems like stuff we've talked about before. Right? The switches was a conversation that had been brought up. Mike's had those on loan to us because he knows that the budget this year can support it, so he's trying to buy his time to buy our own stuff. The one in the middle about the WatchGuard video server would be interesting, because he does provide, like, we could migrate the software to the server. And so I'm like, okay, why not do that? But it would add storage requirements to the server, but is the additional requirements on the server. So I think there's just a lot of work to be done here from an IT standpoint. My concern is, though, every time I try to challenge Mike on what he's making us buy, he has always very good responses as to why not. But
So the notes on there, are those notes from Mike or?
from Mike,
Mike,
Okay, so.
so like the server, I know 100% needs to be done. The Windows 10 to 11, the only changes there is I believe it could be just 1 instead of 3. The 5 standard desktops, the ones that I've tried to talk to Mike about is we also just purchased all these computers in 2021, so they all should be able, so I don't know which 5 computers he's actually talking about. Because they should all be able to transfer over. The only one that I know won't is already down there for the dispatch calls for $1,100.
So that's.
Yeah,
So Shindo
That is our radio, we call it, when we listen to the radios, the radio, not the phones. Yep. Yep, and that's part of our package deal. And WatchGuard video servers, like he was just saying too, WatchGuard is only the squad video that is actually in the cars. It's not our body cams that we use for ARPA funds. So those servers is all the videos that is recorded. So the ones that I have talked to Chris about, which works with Mike, is if that server can handle that long of videos. There's gonna be a lot of videos, placed on that. And what last time I had the conversation is if that server, or if there's another server that we can just dump into that, where it's not a different firewall, it could be just on that computer. And that could ultimately save $5,000. So I guess to be answers, I don't know if Mike's at the fire station a lot lately, but if we can schedule a time and just, we can narrow this down for you. As a budget side, the only thing I would say with this is a very aggressive number on Mike's side. It will not go higher. I think we can definitely cut it. It's just a matter of how many computers can handle the changeover from 10 to 11. So that's utilities. Our police admin utilities, we're actually almost right on last year. We're right on this year for that one. That is pretty much set in stone. So those are your, Midwest Gas, your electric, Excel. They haven't raised their costs in a couple of years. So our utilities is spot on. So there's no changes there. Admin other expense, you actually wanted me to talk about that one. That was no, admin all utilities. Yeah, those are right on. This year we're already at 22 out of the 35.5, which gives us 13,000, which is our percentage is right on for 50%. Or close, a little over for August. What's the next one? Admin other, again, that one is usually like our tri-state business machines, our contracts through office supplies. I don't see any changes with that. That's like envelopes and stuff, so we're not doing any more work or less work, so. Dispatch, we can go through all that. We don't really don't talk about capital tonight, do we?
No.
Okay. So.
Am I area in there? You waiting on me for
Yeah,
something?
just scroll down.
Oh, okay. You want to skip by dispatch?
Yeah, I figured I'd just do
Okay.
all the heavy stuff at the end, so. So the other ones that we have control over is 80, 85, 86, 87, so CR control. Has always been since 2001, 11,400. We lowered it last year, $2,000. This one is the only thing is comes out of is your blood draws, your uniforms, your tasers. We are fine with like the hard equipment for like tasers and weapons. The only thing is there's like uniforms is just having, first of all, of course, these two new hires, one's 6'5", 3 bills, and the other one is a small. So I don't have any vests. I don't have any uniforms that I can, give them that's in-house. So I just upped to 2,000 because I just ordered all the uniforms for Brandon, and it was $2,700 with the equipment, the vests. The uniform shirts are $189 a piece. I mean, these uniforms are not cheap. So just him was, just under 3. I'm almost done with him. So a new officer is $3,000. I haven't done Connor yet. So again, another, $6,000 out of that 9,400 is already spent, and that doesn't include the blood draws and hospitals and toll bills. And I mentioned last night, actually you weren't here last night, but with our skeleton crew, we have 2 mental calls. We're sitting at the hospital for 8 to 12 hours, but then there's only 1 car on. So then we can't transport them to Winnebago when we have an uncovered town. So we're paying for Talon, which is a armed security out of La Crosse, the only one in the Midwest or this side of the state. So they're transporting for us. The last bill was $905 for them to do that. The only good thing is about half the time we have used them, these individuals are court ordered. So then, like, if you're court ordered from Chippewa County, they just live here in a group home. I can send that bill to that group home or the county and they pay it. So we are getting lucky, but we're getting half of them, but the last couple is $905. So then you add that with the 6,000 I just spent on uniforms. I'm gonna be very close to not over this year. So I upped it back to $2,000 to 11,400. And then same as traffic control, those are more of your equipment, your radar, your laser, your uniforms can be in there too. So there again, those numbers, if you wanted those numbers, you guys like those numbers, right? So we're at 6,400 right now. I'm at 22, so I am well under half for traffic control for, and then the other one for 9,400, I've only spent 1,754, and that was before the uniforms. So I still have $7,600 left in there, well over half the year. But again, I just, with the uniforms is gonna be coming out of there in August. But those are very steady. Those are numbers that, again, just for the guys to upgrade boots. And then travel training, I lowered that from 10,000 to 8,000 last year. There's just, again, rule of thumb in the years past where I got it up to 10,000, it should be $1,000 for training for each officer. We have 10 officers. And then I lowered it to 8,000, knowing that I can teach most of the stuff in-house with my credentials. So, and training is well below half, or not well below half, it's just over half. Training is at 5491. So I have $2,500 left for the rest of the year. And I know I'm sending two guys to FTO training, which is 250 times 2 is $500 plus maybe room and board, probably another 1,000. So we'll be okay. We won't be over yet for travel and training.
Rick, for that police admin other expense, I feel like every year that one goes over budget.
Yeah.
I was trying to pull it up while you were talking about it, and the biggest line item that appears to come out of that is your Lexipol. Well, it's significant. It's almost $7,000 for that, or maybe 6,500 if I just saw it. And there's some memberships that come out. I mean, it certainly is an other category. So you have garbage pickup coming out of there. I mean, it's a catch-all for some of your contractual services, but $200 here or there for cleaning, Tri-State Business Machines for your whatever it's called, your copier printer. But really what it comes down to, and it's $200 here or there, but the big one is that Lexipol. So I don't know, just thoughts in general. Yeah, Lexipol's at 6,500 essentially per year. And if that whole budget is 97, it leaves you about $3,000 to cover everything else in there. I don't know what thoughts.
Are you more like, because that is a contractual thing that it shouldn't be in police other, we should put it in like a utilities or comms?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think it's a matter of just doesn't matter what category it is.
It's gonna
we've chosen here to have it in like Lexipol. It's under budgeted period, so we had budgeted for this year of 57, 29, 29, and it came in at 64, 67. So even that budget alone for just that one item of Lexipol was off by a magnitude of $700, $800, right? And when your budget's only $9,000, and then everything else is the costs, like you have supplies, you have cleaning you need to get done, and all that. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, you have it zero budgeted for an increase, but I feel like the numbers are showing that that's not achievable. And I think part of it is there's some historical things here with that police admin other expense is, back in, I think, 2025 or maybe 2024, I can't remember this note, I reduced this as a placeholder until you decide what to do with it, but you never decided what to do with it, so I think that police admin other expense was arbitrarily reduced in order to meet budget cuts, but it wasn't done in an intentional way that was actually in line with actuals. So I do think that's probably an area where some additional attention needs to be put into to get a more realistic budget number, because this year it's July and we're already over that budget line by $2,400. Now, some of it's IT that we knew was unexpected, but nonetheless, it's significantly over.
Yeah, we're over 2,300.
And there was like a $650 bill to MCS Networks for a new computer for your time system dispatch. So again, you know, those are things that happen and that we didn't necessarily have a ton of cushion in the budget for. We spent a lot on IT this year. We chewed up a lot and which is fair because Mike came in and did a full audit of everything. And obviously CJIS requirements being what they are, he did a tremendous amount of work at the PD. But that chewed up not so much of the police's budget, but we took a lot of that out of the general computer expense, and that's showing up as a huge deficit right now. But I'm just worried long term, even without that MCS network stuff, that police admin other expense is not equipped to handle the like run of the mill things that you do on a monthly basis.
So if you want to make a placeholder, I have a few cuts to go through. But yeah, you never want to be under, but that one was like $6,400. Lexipol 6467.
Is that a static number or does it fluctuate?
It's probably 5% or 3%. It's one of those contracts. It's been going up a little bit, but not.
Sure, but it's not like it's not utilization based cost where we should have it might have been $5,000 or it might have been 7, but we used it this much, so it's 65 or whatever. So then at least that should reflect what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly that's one of it. But what I would encourage Rick to do is, I made a couple comments about fines and forfeitures, but I think overall that whole line item probably needs to be reviewed again against actuals and a different budget number submitted. Right, because this is super arbitrary. This isn't based on, and you can see it's been carried over for multiple years. So I think the change was made probably back in this is 24, 25, maybe even 23 when that change was made. And so I think that's part of the reason why it's been off every year since. Okay, sorry, Rick, do you want to move on or
Yep.
what do you want to do here?
Well, I mean, unless you want to do it now or?
I would,
I'd like to do a little breakdown on it. See where, just like with the other numbers we had with IT and stuff, so.
yeah, I think there's room. I just don't think we have time today to kind of run through the numbers. I would just encourage you to dissect them a little bit more and then circle back to the budget team.
Then, I go admin, or we can talk about union. We'll go to the officers first. Unless there's any other question, we'll go to wages. So, Steve may not know, but our union contract or the bargaining is tomorrow. Knowing what they are going at.
So just before you jump into that, we have not submitted our initial proposal to the police union.
So that they, your email said they did, and I didn't know if we did.
No, we didn't. So basically, out of fairness to them in the bargaining process, I did say to them that, okay, well, if you guys don't want to exchange numbers, but tomorrow night we'll exchange numbers. It will be the first thing we do, and then we'll start talking about them, and then they can give it. So for that reason, I would prefer not to discuss in this public meeting the percentages that we have booked in here, because that would basically indicate what our proposal is that we have not shared.
Fair enough for me.
Right? So if you can just talk about them vaguely, I know it seems to be more cloak and dagger than what's probably necessary, but just in the interest of bargaining position, I would speak maybe more that what the number is total and not necessarily what. Sorry to make life harder.
Then we'll go to admin. I mean, this will be fluid for public record. Yeah, we'll know more after the next meeting.
But yeah, just to help out, like right now, based on the percentages that we're looking at, as far as our initial proposal, we are looking at about a $53,000 increases to wages total. One thing I will note in here, and I didn't have a chance, Rick and I met briefly, but I didn't have a chance to actually explain this part to him, is this $18,000 here is the stipend from health insurance. In previous years, it showed up as a health insurance expense, and now it's showing up as a wage. So when you look at this $53,000 number for public safety wages, which is just your patrolmen, part of that $53,000 increase is that $18,000 now showing up in the category. So, and the only other thing I'll note for the officer side is that the retirement percentage actually went down this year. I don't know if you noticed that, Rick. The protection retirement actually decreased ever so slightly, but given the increase in wages, the total amount spent on retirement contribution is still going up. So, just a couple notes from what I saw. Do you want to go to admin, you said?
Yep. Okay, these numbers are just kind of based off of what I believe, you know, where our patrol are, so if I can say this in meetings then. Having the disparity between patrol, sergeant, assistant chief, and chief. And by the way, all these names are spelled wrong and with my name if that ever occurs to you.
Did I just transpose the L and the E?
Yep.
You're French, aren't you? Flat?
Just German.
Need flat. You know how many times I've looked at that and I've never noticed that?
I've done it for 5 years, never mentioned it to you either.
Well, you
Because
can change it.
everybody else is right, though. It's just you that's wrong, right? I got
Yeah.
Karina. All right.
So yeah, so that is based on the difference between officers, assistant sergeant, assistant chief, and then myself. That is also a wage study of the same 10 agencies that the patrol will be using during the union negotiations. Putting us actually right around our halfway mark as well between the said agencies. So for example, you use the 10 agencies. Is I'm 9 out of the 10 agencies, Bobby is 8 out of the 10 agencies. So to put us right in the halfway mark with the assistant, and actually he would be second in command, and then mine would be the chief, would put me right in the middle of the same areas that the patrol guys use for a wage study. So that's where those two numbers are, and actually it would probably be as a healthy mark would be 14 and 12. The only reason it was 15 is I just rounded up, but 14 and 12. Corinna, that is, well, Corinna and Annette, that is the same study that did anybody that had administrative assistants / dispatchers, putting them at the halfway mark between the same agencies that actually had them though. Most of the agencies that have them it was a little bit more different. They have different set agencies because you're looking at the dispatchers, which is usually your county seeds, like Richland Center, Prairie du Chien just have administrative assistants. So I put them right in the middle of the halfway mark as well. So that is just to put them and cost of living. So I guess that is my last thing, unless there's a bunch of questions. Then I can say a few things that I had was we are the phones with Crescendo. I think I can lower that. You initially thought that that guy you talked to could lower our bill just for being in business or whatever. You had a conversation that Crescendo might lower my bill in almost in half. Then it was stopped or changed. The phones, the only other ones that I could see is like our phone in our evidence room, our phone in our like our not break room, our conference room, and our phone in our evidence store, or not evidence storage, our evidence bay. If we start getting rid of a few phones, that is, 15 depends on the phone. Our conference phone is a big one that you have like in your guys' conference room upstairs. that weird triangle looking thing. Is we could lower that bill probably about $50 a month, which is insignificant. And then our cell phones to help out with that, and then cable. We still need internet. Cell phones was $518 a year by limiting 2 cell phones. It just would make it more difficult. So I need to have, me and Bobby have our own phones. The investigator has his own phone, but then I have a phone for each of the cars. So like our K9 guys that go home, so I call them. If I need to call them out, they get called on their business phone, not their personal phone. And then getting rid of those, and then this US Cellular phone that they use would be shared, so I'd have just 2 phones instead of 6 phones for the, no, that ain't right, because Matt would have his own. Get rid of 3 phones. Get rid of 3 phones, so the K9 guys would share, and then the other patrol guys would have one, so that would save about 518 or something like that dollars. Could look that up, but roughly. And then I was just saying, depends on what you guys are looking for the budget. I can keep going through a few more, as like dispatch. Not dispatch, training and travel is, lowering that a little bit more, just because you do have me that can teach almost everything to offset some other ones like our Alexa poll or something like that. So I'm at the mercy of you guys. What are you have questions on?
So regarding the phones, do you remember how long we have left on our contract?
I have 2 years left. I had to re-up them.
The cell phones? Sorry, I'm talking about the crescendos. Should have specified. We got them when you moved in the building, which was 2021. It was a 5-year
5-year
contract. So next year would probably be our last, so 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Maybe this year. End of this year, 2026.
Yeah.
5 years. We would have got them September of 21.
Yeah,
Could be 26, yeah.
we have to be getting pretty darn close to our contract renewal. I'll look into that because I think we did over put too many phones in your building. I mean, I think part of it, right, is like a big building. We need to make sure wherever you're at, you have phones, but to have that many phones in your building, plus everybody has cell phones, plus radios, plus I think you have an intercom system.
Through the phones though.
Oh, it's through the phone.
Through the phones. And that's why
Gotcha.
we did that, so you could be heard anywhere.
Because there's one in like the bay, there's one in the evidence room, so we could probably lose quite a few phones, because you have a big phone bill. Crescendo, okay. Feel like we would have had to be, we moved into your building in 21.
September of 21.
That's wild, that long already. Okay. I'll put a note to maybe look at that, because we would want to look at our bill anyway, and there's probably some phones here in City Hall we could kill as well.
So the only other one too is just for me, where I think you could even lose more, is even if we did like their officers' desks, a few of them have like 3 or 4 of them in there. They won't have a phone under that, which is a huge inconvenience to them, to be honest with you. They're always on the phones, following up with it. But even like the ones that would be in the hallway or the conference room, we can take, that's what's nice about these phones. You can take those phones. So if you have you guys showing up, you want to use the conference room, hey, can we use your phone? I can bring one in there, tie it to the internet, and you're already rocking and rolling. So if you didn't know, like your big triangle phone, you could put that right here.
Right. And that's
So
part of the reason
that's-
is that we have 2 down here in this room. And never once in the 3 years that we've been, 2.5 years we've been here, have we ever needed 2 phones. Like, it's just, we overdid it, right? And so, and that's what's hard about, you have in your mind, like, oh, I need a phone. And then you realize, like, it's not the cost of the phone that gets you, it's the monthly charge that really piles up. So I'll look at that. Okay. And then for the cell phones, you gave a couple different numbers, but currently there's how many cell phones? Does everybody have a cell phone?
I have 7 cell phones.
So you said you, Jeffa, Assistant Chief
So-
Rosh,
Matt, So the admin have one
Sergeant.
just, because technically, I mean, for open records, like, they have to answer their phone from work. So Matt is usually never on call, so Matt wouldn't need one, he would share it with patrol. And then the canine guys, so,
Gotcha.
but I could easily.
And
take-
is
I
there a
could take that
reason,
down.
is there a reason why we can't, when you're getting called into work, you can't call them on their personal lines?
Oh, absolutely, you can, that's what I'm saying, like, it's just a convenience, it's a convenience thing.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I think half of them would like it, because they don't have to carry two phones with them at all times.
Did you say you recently renewed your contract with US Cellular?
Yeah.
Why?
To be honest with you, don't know, because FirstNet was kind of giving us the runaround for a little bit, because you and I talked about, going to FirstNet.
Right.
So the FirstNet was a higher price, 43.80, and US Cellular was a little cheaper.
Okay.
I would still love to go to FirstNet.
I can't imagine that your
So-
guys are able to even function with US Cellular in Brooklyn. It's
So-
not adequate, especially in your business.
Well,
So
outside of Roquo, it's not adequate.
Right. 100%, but even in town, we just recently got rid of our last few US Cellular based data things. 'Cause it's junk. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't because they're local, right? They're a regional carrier, but
T-Mobile would buy them.
yeah, and it's
Hopefully.
they didn't
hopefully
buy
they
their
do better.
towers though, which is weird. So again, if you just resign, there's nothing we can do about it now. But
No,
you've
so
gotta
when we
switch.
talked to, when I got T-Mobile now, when I got FirstNet, all our Credo points for our squads, we went to them because that was a lot cheaper. So we saved a lot. I don't even know,
Right.
let's say 150 a month
Mhm.
by using those Credo points in our cars.
right,
Because US Cellular is.
and they actually work.
And they work. Yeah, 4 minutes to spare.
We have our budget team meeting tomorrow morning, Rick. I'm trying to think out loud, but I think we'll probably have enough to chew on tomorrow, looking at everything else. But if we could get your updated numbers on your budget with even some of the changes we talked about today at the following week, that would be really helpful so that we can have the latest.
Want
and
them by
greatest
tomorrow or?
Well, we're meeting tomorrow morning at 9, considering that it's 8:30. Can't really ask you for.
We might not get to that until 10:30 though. So if you'd like to do them, if you
Yeah,
can,
if
by
you
all
can.
means, it would. Right. Do
The
yours
only one I won't
last.
have would be the IT, because I would need to talk to Mike on that.
Right.
Well, I'm not calling him tonight, I would stick,
No,
I
I
would
would call
stick
him
around.
tonight, but usually he's pretty darn available, and if you can do a phone call, because that's a huge number. I mean, that's $13,000. That really moves the needle if you can drop all. the
Right.
other- That would be a crucial one to understand, and, right now, we're looking at a pretty big budget overage, so there will have to be some changes made, and that's part of what the budget teams needs to start talking about tomorrow morning, so if you can get that.
Right. I don't want you to stay until 2 a.m. to get it done, Rick, but if you could have it by tomorrow at 10:30, I think that would help us. But again, please don't take that as. I
So
want you to stay
realistically, you're
till-
just talking IT and then Lexipol, to be honest with you, because
Well,
you're,
that will count, that admin other account. But that has a bunch of stuff and just running through and looking at the actuals and then giving an updated number, because while some of the other things could come down with IT, almost certainly that admin other number is gonna have to come up, which is I'm guessing by probably $3,000 to $4,000 based on just the quick review of it, so we can take a look at that. We are hopefully looking at some other options
Yeah.
elsewhere that may help with Lexipol, but I'll follow up on that later. I don't know how close we are.
Your mic's not on.
What?
Your mic is not on.
Hopefully. Okay.
there she is.
All right,
Helpful
anything
info.
else? Anything else anybody has?
Just spitballing. Is there any way we could bulk buy fuel?
As a municipality,
Yeah, sure. As
there'd
opposed
be the
to,
infrastructure cost to that.
yeah, that's all, it was just a thought.
So my experience with fuel is, and I haven't looked at our Quick Trip. You assuming you buy your fuel at Quick Trip. And I know that's where the fire department buys its fuel, and I would assume Sarah buys their fuel there, or their whatever they don't get out of their bulk tank.
Right.
You can, and we should look at that, and I'd be happy to look at that with whoever's the keeper of like the big account. Quick Trip's incentives that they're able to give if you work with them, it gets, by the time you pay for the infrastructure to be able to handle it, we use 900,000 gallons of gas a year, and we can't find a way to buy it cheaper than just going Quick Trip and doing it. But we have to work hard with Quick Trip annually to negotiate the best fuel rebates that we can get. And as a city, we're eligible for discounts beyond the general
Right.
public.
I think we negotiated that with them 2 or 3 years ago when we moved to the cards. Like there's something that we did 2 to 3 years ago that was a little bit of a lift to get to that point, but yeah, it would probably be worth looking into
I
again.
believe it was the mayor's first year.
Yeah.
You told me that with the private company with your cabs, there's incentives or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when we got the new cards, but I don't know what it was.
But I think we need to look at it, because what I learned is I always thought, well, I thought, oh, we're a good enough customer. They'll just
Yeah.
keep in regular communication. Well, it fell off where we hadn't heard from anybody in like 3 years. And I called the guy the other one day and I'm like, so fuel discounts. And he's like, oh yeah, we can do a lot better. I'm like, well, thanks for calling.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's right.
the point there is Quick Trip's an excellent partner. We just have to put in a little bit of work on our end to say, okay, you know, we're at a 6 cents a gallon discount off of pump price today. Is there any room for that? Right. And then we don't pay, do you get fuel tax rebates? I don't know.
No, I asked a year ago or whatever. It's already,
Because I know some
Right.
entities in the world are eligible for fuel tax rebate. And if that's the case, that would be a tremendous asset. It takes a little bit of work, but
This is fun.
I'll look at that. It's really weird because some communities that I work with have like a central fuel center, and every municipal vehicle fills up at the fuel center. They buy it by the semi load.
Right.
And I think they do that from a perspective of control more so than cost savings. And it's got to do with the size of the community, right? Like the bigger the community, the tougher it is to control Quick Trip cards. So now you're not going to the gas station with our card. You're going to the fuel center and you're going to fuel up there under camera. And we're going to hold the camera. We're going to do all that stuff. So I wish I hadn't looked into that as much as I have to have the opinion I do.
No.
That's a bitch. So
but to add, I know Chad Hoyam did that for, Public Works, and what it costs her. It's gotta be underground tank. It's gotta be, the infrastructure side of it. But that's something like Quick Trip might be more tuned, because I think the Public Works goes to mobile, right?
no, Sarah has a bulk fuel tank now.
She does.
We do buy a bulk fuel there, and that has been a significant savings over mobile, which is where they got their fuel
Right.
before. But there, I think for like, and we'd have to ask Sarah, but like with roads, is there some sort of what's that program look like? I'm talking specifically gasoline, not fuel,
No,
not diesel. But you could buy, Chevy trucks with diesels in them, and you could, there are options out there. There are diesel options out there. I guess like my pickup's a diesel, and I don't think you're gonna catch anybody in a high-speed chase with it, but you get really good mileage. So,
Well, we're at 8:30. I think we've done enough damage for the night. Anything else? Okay,